65 yards. This time he fumbles the ball.
You must be out of your goddamn mind. What the hell is wrong with you people?
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another Ryno's Rants on a Monday night. We're in the off season, of course. AFC, NFC championship games took place yesterday. The Super Bowl that absolutely everybody wanted to see. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles in New Orleans in a couple of weeks here. But I mean, it is what it is. Kind of, I was obviously cheering for both of the other ones, but it is what it is at this point in time. Kind of what was expected, I suppose. But you would think that eventually we would get a Super Bowl that somebody really cared about. But I mean, this one, other than Eagles fans and Chiefs fans, yeah, nobody really cares about it. But anyway, hold on one second. I have an issue here with my streaming. I don't know if anybody can see me or not here tonight. I got some running into some issues with my streaming service, but again, it's this new platform I'm on. It's a little bit different. I haven't quite figured everything out yet, but bear with me, I guess, if we run into any issues. But biggest news, of course, coming out of Vikings camp this week, Kevin O'Connell signing his contract extension. We talked about this last week, and I said at that point in time I fully expected the extension to happen prior to any meaningful free agency period and that kind of stuff. It happened quicker than that. It was announced early last week, Monday or Tuesday, I believe it was, that Kevin O'Connell has signed a contract extension, will be the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings for the foreseeable future. Terms have not been announced yet. I'm not exactly sure what why they haven't announced that. The negotiations are going on right now as well with Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. So it is very possible that they're waiting until they get that done. I would assume that the two of them would be synced together. My guess is their contracts would probably run the same length to the point of what JJ McCarthy's rookie deal would be. By that time, they're going to know whether or not things have worked out, and if by then they'll have a good idea. Because if the quarterback doesn't pan out, then you at that point in time probably start from scratch again. But O'Connell here, my guess, and this is just my opinion, I haven't seen any numbers. Nothing's been released, but it's probably it depends on if they tear up year 4 and roll it all into a new contract, or if it's next year plus an extension. If it's next year plus an extension, it's maybe a 3-year deal, 4-year deal at the most. I would expect Kwesi to have something similar to that. Heard rumors on dollar value anywhere from that 13 to 15 million a year range for O'Connell, which would put him in line kind of with what a lot of these guys are getting right now. Beyond that, the other biggest thing is it looks like Defensive Coordinator Brian Flores will return next year. The coaching carousel is pretty well finished up, and no opening. The only opening left, I guess, New Orleans technically is still open, but they haven't shown any interest at this point in time with Flores. So I don't know if they're waiting for somebody from Kansas City or Philly. That would be my guess as to why they haven't signed anybody yet. Mike McCarthy's still out there, of course, as well. But it looks like Brian Flores will return, and that's a good thing for the Vikings. I'm happy that he's going to be coming back, and it's one more year in the system, one more year to get the guys that he wants in this system to make this defense what he wants it to be. And it was a massive improvement this year over last year, and I think they can improve it once again. When it gets to the to this upcoming year, so there's going to be a lot of turnover, of course. With Brian Flores coming back, there's a very strong possibility that Harrison Smith may want to give it another go. That, I guess, remains to be seen. Have not heard one way, shape, or form, from him whether or not he's going to come back. If he comes back and plays again, he's going to play for the Vikings. He's not going to play anyplace else. Beyond that, Byron Murphy's a free agent. Cam Bynum is a free agent. I would say both of those, the fact Brian Flores is coming back, I think helps that out as far as, those two wanting to re-sign here. I think it's a very strong possibility that one or both comes back. But they're still they still got to do some work. They got, they need somebody up on the defensive line that can rush the passer. You've got the run defense has been decent the last couple of years, but it's not, they don't have that pass rushing threat from the inside that can collapse the pocket and bring that center rush. Anytime they want to get any kind of rush in off the center right now, it's coming from either Ivan Pace or Blake Cashman. I'm not getting any comments rolling through here tonight. I don't know. I think I've got some connection issues. Hopefully, if you guys are seeing me, at least let me know. It's showing that I've got people watching, but like I said, brand new streaming. We did a switch and I haven't got the hang of it yet. But anyway, on the offensive side of things, of course, we all knew Kevin O'Connell was coming back. Couple of coaches though that may not be coming back, depending upon what happens. Grant Udinsky, the assistant quarterbacks coach, has been a very hot name as far as offensive coordinators go. He's taking interviews in multiple locations. Durante Jones, the cornerbacks coach, also has been taking some defensive coordinator interviews. So, the staff may not remain 100% intact. We'll have to see what happens there. But, the Vikings' continuity and being able to build the coaching staff and continue to evolve, I think is going to be key, especially coming in, with J.J. McCarthy most likely taking over as a starting quarterback. And, but they're going to have to do some things with the interior offensive line. Kevin O'Connell brought that up at the beginning, at his post-game press conference. He actually called him out, finally acknowledging that that's a problem. Hey, Kevin, good evening. Where are the Vikings going to go with their number one pick? My personal guess is that they're going to trade back, just because right now they're only sitting with 4 draft picks. Unless there's somebody that falls to them, one of the top-notch cornerbacks or Maybe an interior offensive lineman. That's usually a little high to be taking one of those guys, or a stud running back, Gianti or somebody out of Boise State happens to fall for some reason or another. I see him trading back either to the back, to the very back end of the first round or early in the second round, and picking up a couple more draft picks just to kind of replenish the war chest a little bit. But cornerback is going to be a need. I mean, I don't see Stephon Gilmore coming back next year, probably. I mean, he's, 35 years old. Gary, good evening. Flores back, huge. Yeah, Gilmore, like I said, I would kind of be surprised if Gilmore comes back. I wouldn't mind seeing Shaq Griffin come back. I mean, he played very well. Very underrated and very under the radar all year long. I wouldn't mind seeing him come back as that veteran presence. I mean, right now we have nobody with much experience, signed a contract next year. We have Mekhi Blackman, we have Dwight McGlothern, we have a bunch of other young guys, but we have, with Byron Murphy not signed, we don't have any experience in that back end. And again, with Harrison Smith potentially coming or going, we don't know yet. Cam Bynum not necessarily there. The only guy with any experience you have under contract is Josh Metellus. And he, of course, he's a safety. He's not, he's listed as a safety, but he's the jack of all trades and lines up all over the field. I don't think they want to turn Metellus into just a safety. He's too valuable with what he does. Theo Jackson, is he going to get a increased role? I think he's been kind of waiting in the wings. They like him. I could see that being a thing. Beyond that, the edge rushers are pretty well set. Pat Jones, I would say, probably leaves during free agency. It's a crowded room. You've got Dallas Turner sitting there who didn't get a ton of playing time this year just because of the people that were in front of him. And, I could see that being a thing. But who's someone on defense you think will take it to the next level this coming year? That's a really good question. I think it's the easy answer is probably Dallas Turner. I think, he's going to be in line for a lot more playing time. He's going to, he should be the primary backup behind Grenard and Van Ginkel. I can easily see that being the case where, he makes that massive jump in year two that, everybody kind of expected him to do this year. But I don't think anybody expected we were going to get the kind of production out of both Grenard and Van Ginkel that we got. That whole, 11 and a half sacks. I think it was Van Ginkel had and 11 that Grenard had. And the pressure. I mean, those two guys played they played at the Pro Bowl level for sure. And, arguably at an all-pro level. So it's just, it was a crowded room this year. Blake Cashman's already there. I think Ivan Pace is going to continue to be Ivan Pace. Jalen Redmond, I think, is a guy on the defensive line that is due to take an even bigger jump. I mean, the guy earned himself a spot. They already re-signed him. They really like him. So I think Jalen Redmond has earned himself a starting spot on that line at one of the defensive end positions. They still need somebody else in there. Maybe he can start generating a little bit more pass rush on his side of things too. I don't know. But I guess those are my two guys probably. Theo Jackson could be a guy that, makes that next step, especially if Harrison Smith doesn't come back. But, Turner and Redmond, I think, are easy picks for that. Offensive side of things on the line, I honestly don't know what you do there. you don't. I've heard things about, Rouse being moved into one of the guard spots. I've heard, a few things here. Of course, Trey Smith is the hot name in free agency that everybody thinks the Vikings should go after. I think they're going to be in play for him. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be in on him. Chicago has a ton of cap space. They're going to be in on him. There's other teams that are sitting there with a lot of money to spend to go after somebody like him. Center's another spot that they're going to have to do something. They need 2 guards, realistically. I wouldn't be completely opposed if they did get somebody like Trey Smith to move into right guard. If you bring Reisner back and put him at left, I mean, Reisner was good in pass protection all year long. His run blocking is not so much, but his pass blocking was really good, or one of the better on the offensive line. Best out of the interior guys, at least. One big concern I have is, when will Christian Darrisaw be back and ready to play? Can he start at the beginning of the year, or is he going to be out for a while? They're going to have to do something there. I mean, if you got to go a week or two, then it's probably not so critical, but I don't know that you can go a long stretch of the season without having somebody in at that spot. Cam Robinson, played well to start with, but fell off at the end of the year and was a liability the last several weeks. So there's a lot of stuff they're going to get into. I know Brunswick and I are going to start breaking down some of the different positions of need and things like that coming up here in the upcoming weeks on the main show. But just kind of wanted to hop in here and talk about the coaching staff a little bit tonight, and whatever else you guys want to talk about, obviously, as always. But Udinsky, that's going to be a little bit of a loss if he goes someplace. He's garnered a lot of respect around the league for what he's been doing. Josh McCown, of course, is the main quarterback's coach, but Udinsky's been right there with it, along with it too. McCown had a couple of interviews, then came back and said that he wasn't going to go for a coordinator job someplace. He was going to stay here unless he got a head coaching opportunity. He did interview with the Jets for that, but it didn't pay out, of course. But good to have him back. I think he's going to be invaluable working with McCarthy next year, along with Kevin O'Connell, of course, and Wes Phillips. Durante Jones, if we lose him, I'd be a little sad about that. I kind of thought he would be an internal candidate that would eventually replace Brian Flores. When Flores ultimately gets that, gets that head coaching job someplace else. Hey, Brian, Eagles look impressive yesterday. How about Saquon? Yeah, I'd love to have Saquon on this team. I think he would make this offense exponentially better to that next level. Now, was he only signed to a 1-year deal in Philly, or did he sign for a couple of years? I guess I don't know his contract status right now. Yeah, I would absolutely love Saquon Barkley on this team. Now, you're going to pay a ton of money for him. Barkley's going to get that $15 million a year ish if he's up for a contract. I guess I'm not sure what his deal is, but the guy is an MVP candidate this year. It's going to go to a quarterback because it always goes to a quarterback, but he should be right there, and he's the Philadelphia Eagles are not in the Super Bowl in 2 weeks if not for Saquon Barkley. I'm going to say that out right now, and I don't think there's going to be a lot of people that would argue with me on that. So if he was available and if the Vikings could get him, yes, I would absolutely look at him. I know Aaron Jones has come out over the weekend, and he's made the comment again that he He wants to return to Minnesota. He wants to actually retire as a Viking. He loves it here, and wants to make it work and come back. So I mean, I would be fine bringing Aaron Jones back as well. Now, Aaron Jones as your number one back. I mean, he had a great year. I mean, he was very good out of the backfield. Had the most rushing yards in his career, 1,100 and some odd yards. But the Vikings are missing that home run threat at the running back position. That a Dalvin Cook had, or a Robert Smith or an Adrian Peterson, that kind of guy who can hit that hole, a Saquon Barkley type that, can hit that hole and be gone. Right now, we don't have any of that. Cam Akers hit a couple of them, but, we didn't get any of those long breakaway runs for touchdowns this year. You're getting that 10, 12, 15 yards, and that's, those are your big plays, but we need better explosives, and we need better pass block or run blocking in the middle, especially. What was it? Something like 70% of the Vikings run plays, there was contact at the line of scrimmage. That's not the recipe for a good run game. So something's got to be done there as well. And we've saw it many times, and I know we talked about this multiple times during the season. When the Vikings get in those short yardage situations, all of a sudden they're down at the goal line. Against Detroit, for prime example, 6 times inside the red zone, 12 plays inside the 8-yard line or whatever it was, and didn't get a single thing. They don't have that power up front that they could use or the horses basically to make that play work. It's so they got to do something, and that's, again, falls back to the offensive line, I think, more than anything. You don't have that big bruising power back either. The Cam Akers and the Aaron Jones and Ty Chandlers of the world, they're all basically the same type of running back. A lot of, most teams like to have that little bit more of a thunder and lightning type thing. Your speed back, your guy that can catch passes out of the backfield, and then your bruiser. I mean, the closest thing we have to that is CJ Ham. And, and Ham, how much longer is he going to play? They don't use him very much. He's a captain and everything. But, Brian, what's your feeling on the referees? I'm watching that Buffalo and Kansas City game yesterday. That was absolute garbage. Especially that one, I think it was a 4th down play that Josh Allen did the rush and over the top. There's no way in hell that those officials should have missed that was a 1st down. I honestly think they've got to start doing something more as far as, using technology to help with these plays, the expedited reviews, that kind of thing. They can chip the football so they can tell, where it is in regards to a 1st down line. And a lot of these judgment calls like this would go away because it's, the ball, the chip crossed the line and it registered, GPSed or whatever it is. You would eliminate 90% of these bad spot plays and judgment calls like that by starting to use the technology that's available that other, sports use. Tennis has a thing where they can tell if the ball hits the line or not. I mean, you could do the same thing in the NFL. It's not hard. I mean, the NFL is the biggest money-making sports entity in the world. You can't tell me that they can't afford to do something like this and bring that technology in there to make this better. But, it's something that eventually is going to start biting the NFL. I mean, right now they know that, we'll just go out there and say that, oh, we're sorry we made some bad calls. We'll send an apology letter to whatever team. But people are going to keep watching because it's the NFL. I mean, I honestly can think that their Super Bowl ratings might take a hit this year because I think people are sick of the Kansas City Chiefs. And, most people outside of Philadelphia don't like the Eagles, mainly because of the Philadelphia Eagles fans. If they had a good fan base, I wouldn't mind the Eagles. I honestly wouldn't. They got some very good players. No real jackasses on the team, really, so to speak. But it's the fan base that just sours everybody on that team. And I'm not sure what, there's nothing that can be done about it, of course. I mean, it just is the way it is. But I think of the potential scenarios that they could have had for Super Bowl matchup out of the last four, I think this is probably the worst one. If Buffalo had been there, you'd have the storyline about, can they get off the schneid from 0-4, go to, or are they going to go to 0-5? The Commanders going in there, new coach, rookie quarterback, all that stuff. The only thing you've got in this one is, is Kansas City going to three-peat? And, Kansas City has, for better or for worse, has become the New England Patriots of the, the first 2 decades. They're until somebody knocks them off their perch, they're the guys that are there. And we got to deal with them year after year. Andy Reid is an amazing head coach. Steve Spagnuolo coming in there has made that defense very good. And of course, you got Patrick Mahomes, and you got all this other, NFL's rigged, sad to say. I'm not going to go as far as it being rigged. I think that there may be some looking the other way on something. Yeah, and that's the thing. They're going to want, they want Taylor Swift out there too. I think the Taylor Swift thing has kind of run its course. I haven't heard, they're not doing near as much with it this year as they did last year. I mean, every time Travis Kelce farted on the sidelines last year, they had to pan up to the press box to see what Taylor Swift thought about it. It's not quite as much this year, but it's still there. It's still an annoyance. I don't know. But yeah, if anybody's watching on YouTube, let me know, because usually having a ton of YouTube comments filing in here, and I'm not getting anything showing up in the chat this time. So thinking the NFL went route from MLB and juiced the ball for these long field goals. See, these a kicking ball. I don't know that they've necessarily got. I mean, maybe. I think a lot of it is, before kickers just used to be this little guy that they found on a street corner someplace to come in and kick the ball, or an old little soccer player or something like that. Kickers are becoming better athletes, and I think that's a lot of it too. You've got these guys that are, the kickers used to just stand on the sidelines for most of the of practice before. Now they're out there, they're doing drills, they're kicking, they're, working on it, they're lifting weights, they're doing all this other stuff. And it's showing. A 50-yard field goal back in the day was almost unheard of, and now, if you miss from under 55, it's considered a bad miss. But there are things I think that the NFL does in the name of entertainment. I mean, it is an entertainment industry, but there's just so many things that can go on during a game where I have a really hard time with the NFL is rigged. But Brian, yeah, you got a great comment here, and I've been an advocate of this for years. The refs need to be full. Right now, the refs are part-time employees. Most of them have regular jobs during the week. The NFL needs to make their officiating crews permanent, full-time employees who, during the week, they're watching game film, they're looking back at stuff that was screwed up, they're going out to the team's practice facilities and working with the teams on rules and things like that. You could very easily have all of these officiating crews as full-time staff. They'd have plenty of stuff to do, and the product, I think, would be better, on the field and on Sundays. It's just, you've got some, a lot of these guys have done this for a long time, but the judgment calls, it seems like, or I didn't see that call, looking back to the Sam Darnold thing with the Rams back during the regular season in the end zone where his face mask almost got ripped off his head. You start expedited reviews, you make all these things reviewable. You have, that quick review from the booth, back in New York or whatever, that can look over that entire play, in a matter of seconds. If it's anything controversial whatsoever or anything like that, and they could say right away, oh, wait, number 97 grabbed the face mask of the quarterback, that's a 15-yard penalty, first down. Or, against the Rams the second time, oh no, that was a intentional grounding by Matt Stafford. There wasn't, he wasn't throwing it at anybody in the area. There was there's so much of that stuff. I think expedited replays, technology, and all this stuff could clear up a lot of this, and it would make a better product. And you wouldn't have, fans, shows, podcasts, things like that, talking about how shitty the officiating is all the time. I feel like a broken record sometime coming on every week and having to bitch about how poor the officiating is in the NFL. And I know we're not the only shows that do this. A lot of other people that do podcasts, they're talking the same thing from different fan bases. It's not, I know we always think that the refs are biased against the Minnesota Vikings just because, that's what we see on a regular basis. But talking to other fan bases and stuff like that, it's the same thing with them. It's, why the hell is this call getting missed? Or why is that call getting missed? Something needs to be done. Kevin, yeah, they've got the money to do it. Absolutely, they do. But there's something's got to force their hand to make it happen, because it's people just bitch about it, but they don't do anything about it right now. Don't like the way NFL looks now. You can't play defense. Quarterbacks are crying on every knockdown kickoff. Yeah, the kickoff thing, I didn't really care for that this year at all. Most of the time it's just a fair catch. They're doing it, yes, in the name of safety. I get that. That's fine. But it needs to be tweaked and modified a little bit to make something more interesting out of it. Because right now you just as well once a team scores a touchdown, just go give the opposing team the ball at the 25 or the 30-yard line or something like that. There's no incentive for a team to not just kick it in the end zone. They did move the ball from the 25 to the 30, but it didn't, you start something now, if it goes into the end zone, they get it at the 40 or something like that. Then it's going to be trying to get shorter kicks and forcing returns. But, and the onside kick rule thing, I hated that this year. The fact that you have to announce the fact that you're doing an onside kick and you can't do it unless you're trailing and it's in the fourth quarter and blah, 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 blah. That took all the intrigue out of the onside kick. The whole thing about an onside kick was to catch the other team off guard. And I think there's 2 recoveries all year, maybe 3. So they tried it. I'll at least give them credit for trying something, I guess, but it needs to have, it needs to be looked at in the off season. Hopefully the competition committee looks at it and says, yeah, we got to do something better than this, because it's not good. But there's we got a lot of time. Super Bowl, of course, coming up here in 2 weeks. You got the Senior Bowl and the Shrine Bowl coming. A Shrine Bowl, I think, is this Thursday night. So for those of you who get into the off-season stuff, like I'm an off-season nut. I like the player scouting and stuff like that. I enjoy that almost as much as I enjoy the game itself. So there'll be some stuff coming up there. Shrine Bowl is here coming up very shortly too. I don't know the exact date of that, but sad. But the game we all love is a little fucked up. Yeah, you're right, Brian. It is, and I'm not sure what the answer is right now. But they gotta fix some of this stuff, and I'm hoping the competition committee realizes that and does something. But anyway, a little short show tonight, but I just wanted to hop on and talk about a few things. We will have a Vikings Uncensored regular show this week, Saturday night, 9 o'clock. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. What do you got here, Ken? Go to a 3-minute warning and a 25-second clock. I mean, I'm fine with the 2-minute warning. I don't know. I'm not the clock stuff to me is not that big of a deal. It's more, your kickoff rules and some of that other stuff. It's and now you got all these coaches that are going for it on fourth down. It's almost like Madden. You're never kicking the ball anymore. Brian, what do you think? Like the teams are not in a Super Bowl should be a game. It's probably going to be a decent game. If you're just going to sit back on it and you don't care who wins, which, I mean, I'm in that boat. Like I said, I don't want to cheer for Philadelphia because the Eagles fans are assholes and I don't think they deserve a Super Bowl. And on the other hand, you got Kansas City who, has been there 87 times in the last 3 years. It's great if you're a Chiefs fan, but if you're not a Chiefs fan, we saw this with New England. Like I said, for, the first 17, 18 years of this century. Now it's Kansas City. I mean, why can't it be Minnesota doing that? I don't know, but, we all know it's just the way Minnesota is. But anyway, guys, I do apologize for some of the technical difficulties. Like I said, I don't know that my YouTube feed was actually working tonight. I never saw anybody hop on from YouTube, but we'll work on it this week and hopefully have everything straightened out by Saturday, again, 9 p.m. Brunswick and I will start breaking down some of the positional things and stuff like that. Get kind of his thoughts. Maybe we'll have a Kwesi extension to talk about by that time. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if we do. Maybe a little bit more clarity on some of these other positions. Will Durante Jones go somewhere? Will Udinski go somewhere? We'll find that out. But also kind of a programming note going forward here. After this week, we're going to be dropping down to just doing the main studio show. Kind of like we've done in the past. Ryno's Rants will go on hiatus until we get down to, free agency and that kind of stuff. Not free agency, but more towards training camp and that kind of stuff. So we'll be doing the one show a week. We'll be doing it, keeping it on the weekends for now. Then once, starts warming up and springtime rolls around, we'll probably move it to the midweek like we did last summer too. But, I want to thank everybody again for joining. Apologize again for those who maybe couldn't get on due to the technical difficulties. Working on that. Shout out to the Filipino fan club as always. I know they're always watching. All you guys that joined in the chat, great stuff as always. Glad to have you on. And with that, you guys have a great rest of your week. We will see you Saturday night, 9 p.m. for the live studio show, Brunswick and myself. So, Skol Vikes, and we'll see you next time.